Story 1. The Cecil Hotel. Dr. Sarah Mitchell was accustomed to the unspoken dialogues of the dead. Their silenced voices resonated through their lifeless forms, each begging for their stories to be heard. As the chief pathologist at a downtown LA hospital, she had seen it all, or so she thought, until Elisa Lam's case landed on her table. It was late, and the flickering fluorescent lights above seemed to hum in anticipation as Sarah reviewed the case notes. Drowning. The official reason was drowning, but the circumstances? An enigma, much like the last footage of Elisa alive, her unsettling actions in the Cecil Hotel elevator. Sarah looked at the clock. It was nearing midnight. "Let's get this over with," she muttered, laying her scalpel against Elisa's skin. Just then, her phone buzzed. An unknown number flashed on the screen with a text that read, "Look deeper." Confused but intrigued, Sarah looked up at her computer. It was displaying an paused frame from the elevator CCTV footage, one she didn't remember pausing at. Elisa's eyes seemed to meet Sarah's, full of an emotion that couldn't be placed. Fear or a warning, perhaps both. Ignoring the chill crawling up her spine, Sarah delved into the autopsy. It was straightforward, almost disappointingly so. Lungs filled with water, no signs of struggle. Toxicology report clean. But when she examined Elisa's eyes, a routine check, she found something extraordinary. Flecks of an unusual sediment floated in the vitreous humor, akin to ash. Sarah stared, puzzled. This didn't align with a drowning. Suddenly, the room grew cold. Instruments rattled on trays, and papers flew off her desk, as if caught in an invisible gust. Sarah felt her heartbeat echoing in her ears, drowning out the rational voice that usually guided her. Then, as quickly as it had started, the room settled, leaving only a palpable dread hanging in the air. Sarah moved to annotate her findings. But as her fingers hovered over the keyboard, another message popped up on her phone. Enough. It was from the same unknown number. Sarah sat there, contemplating her next move. Her rational mind screamed to document the strange findings. It could potentially be groundbreaking. But another part of her, a part she had never acknowledged, advised her to heed the warning. In the end, Sarah entered her findings as inconclusive and put everything away, a knot of unease settling in her stomach. As she turned off the lights and locked her office, she couldn't shake off the feeling that Elisa Lam's case was a book that should remain closed, its dread-filled chapters secluded from the world of the living. For some truths lurk in the depths of shadows, resistant to the probing lights of science and reason. And as Dr. Sarah Mitchell walked out of the hospital that night, she felt a weight lift off her shoulders, replaced by an even heavier burden, the unsettling notion that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Story 2. The Myrtles Plantation. Dr. Emma Ward had always been fascinated by the psychology of fear. As an academic researcher in behavioral science, she had ventured into dark prisons, haunted asylums, and even war-torn regions. But it wasn't until she visited the Myrtles Plantation for a study on fear in historically haunted locations that she encountered an inexplicable horror. Emma had arrived at the former plantation and current bed and breakfast in the morning. Sunlight bathed the antique architecture, making the sprawling estate seem almost idyllic. Almost. But as she was shown to her room by the manager, an eerie sensation settled over her. She couldn't quite put her finger on it, but she felt watched. Brushing aside the unease, Emma unpacked her scientific instruments, EMF meters, thermal cameras, and digital voice recorders, all the tools of a modern ghost hunter. She planned to deconstruct the myth of the Myrtles Plantation, one data point at a time. By evening, Emma was set up in the most reputedly haunted room, ready to document what she assumed would be explainable phenomena. She switched off the lights, and her equipment lit up the room in an eerie green glow. Hours ticked by, her monitors capturing nothing but the silence of the night. Then, it happened. A cold draft enveloped her. The EMF meters spiked erratically. A whispered voice, almost melodic, broke the quiet, murmuring something unintelligible. Emma felt her pulse quicken. Rationality dictated that she investigate, but her instincts screamed otherwise. Ignoring her gut feeling, she grabbed her thermal camera and scanned the room. What she saw made her blood run cold. A humanoid figure, visible only through the thermal lens, standing at the foot of her bed. Her phone buzzed, breaking the tension. It was an unknown number. "Stop looking, or you shall find." Emma felt a surge of dread, knowing instinctively that the message was connected to what was happening. Emma aimed her digital voice recorder at the apparition and asked, "Who are you?" A crackling noise filled the room, and then a voice from the recorder spoke clearly. "Chloe." The room abruptly warmed, the EMF meters returned to normal, and the figure vanished from her thermal camera. Emma sat there, stunned. All her scientific bravado had evaporated, leaving her humbled and terrified. With trembling hands, Emma deleted all the data she had collected that night. She knew she had been granted a rare glimpse into the unknown, a look behind the curtain that separates our world from the one we're not meant to see. But some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. Upon leaving the Myrtles plantation the next morning, Emma received one final message from the unknown number. "You're welcome." Though she tried to continue her research in other haunted locations, Emma was never the same. She turned down interviews, speaking engagements, and offers to publish her experiences. For she had learned, in the most unsettling way, that some mysteries of fear are best left unrevealed. The Myrtles Plantation remains a popular tourist attraction, its haunted reputation intact. But those who dare to investigate its shadows might find that they, too, receive messages warning them away. And smart are those who heed the whispers in the corridors, whispers that remind us the past is never truly gone. It's merely waiting for the next curious soul to pry too deeply. Story 3. The Bourbon Orleans Hotel. Tara Green was a travel blogger with a passion for the paranormal. She had explored countless haunted locations, her writing intertwining history with her personal experiences. But the Bourbon Orleans Hotel was different. It was as if the building itself had beckoned her to it. The hotel's history was a twisted narrative. Once an opulent ballroom in the 1800s, then an orphanage rife with disease, and now a luxury hotel with more than its share of spectral residents. Tara had read reports from guests encountering orphaned children playing in the corridors, and even a mysterious ballroom dancer appearing in full 19th century attire. Checked in and cozy, Tara set up her equipment. Night vision cameras aimed at the ornate mirror, audio recorders on the vintage dresser, and her laptop running a live stream. A bottle of authentic bourbon rested on the nightstand, a personal tribute to the city. Hours rolled by. Her live stream audience started dwindling, attributing the lack of activity to mere superstition or folklore. Tara herself began to feel skeptical until the clock struck midnight, and the room's atmosphere shifted. The air thickened, and the scent of vintage perfume filled the room. Feeling her heart rate rise but determined to capture something extraordinary, Tara decided to roam the hotel. Her steps took her to the long-abandoned ballroom, now a private event space. It was as if she was drawn there, her feet moving of their own volition. Entering the ballroom, Tara felt her senses engulfed in another era. The scent of perfume intensified, accompanied now by the faint sound of an orchestra tuning. Then she saw her, the ballroom dancer, as vivid as life, twirling in her gown, eyes shut as if lost in her own world. Feeling a mix of awe and fear, Tara lifted her camera to capture the unbelievable scene. But the moment she clicked the shutter, the dancer stopped. Her eyes opened, meeting Tara's lens with a look of utter sorrow. "Would you care to dance?" The figure spoke, her voice echoing through time itself. On instinct, Tara put down her camera and stepped closer. The dancer extended her hand, translucent yet oddly inviting. Tara felt her body glide into an otherworldly waltz, led by the dancer who moved as if floating on air. As they danced, Tara felt memories flood into her, memories not her own. She saw the dancer in her prime, radiant yet confined by societal norms. She felt the dancer's joy at each ball, her desperation for freedom, and finally, her sorrow at an existence now frozen in time. When the waltz concluded, Tara found herself back in her room, the live stream still running. She checked her camera, no pictures, no evidence, as if the experience had been a dream. Yet on her nightstand, her bottle of bourbon now contained 2 glasses, one of which was half empty. Tara discontinued her live stream and her paranormal explorations altogether after that night. Yet, she continued to write, stories imbued with history, empathy, and an understanding of souls lost in time. She never returned to the Bourbon Orleans Hotel, but part of her felt she didn't need to. She had danced the waltz of the forgotten and emerged as a witness to their eternal tales. The hotel continued its existence as a historical monument and a modern luxury stay. But guests who happen to wander into the old ballroom sometimes report a fleeting scent of vintage perfume and an unshakable feeling that someone, or something, had just finished a dance there. A dance that waits for the next willing participant to waltz through the echoes of time.